See how the roller is moving the mud? It's pulling the mud. They don't even have a shoveler.
Yeah, that's extreme.
Yeah.
That's really cool, though.
You use trucks and pumps to lay your concrete. You finish it with power trowels, but how come screeding is the one part that is getting left behind?
That's a lot of work for one guy. You know, you're wearing that guy out fast. He's not going to last. Except for the one Australian dude that's Superman. That guy is incredible. He'll get down there and screed, and he'll finish and video.
Yeah.
So,
When the reality, we grew up where it's like, shit, you want to make $1? Get your ass out there and start freaking shoveling, man.
you know, and that's going to be forced because nobody's getting into this business. The engineers are going to be forced to find new ways.
So we've gotten a lot of feedback over the last couple days on our first little episode that we did talking about different ways that people screed concrete, and it's been interesting learning how other people do it. I think one of the biggest things that was brought up in the comment section is we talked about screeding off forms, and a lot of people don't set their forms to grade, or they're worried about people stepping on their form work and messing it up, as well as they don't even set their own form. Sometimes other people go through and they set it up. So that's something that I guess we've never really noticed because we've always done our own form work.
Right, but we set our forms to grade every time. It doesn't matter what we're pouring. And let's say we have a 10-inch slab, and all we have is a 12-inch form. If you're pouring something monolithic, dig it down another couple inches on the edge and set your form to grade. That way we can, once it's set to grade, at least the way we set it with, metal stakes and screws, and people can jump on it, and it's not moving. It's not shifting. So that part I don't understand.
Well, and this is just our opinion on the deal. Take it for what it is. I mean, we've poured for a lot of years, and we're just trying to make it easier. Just giving our tips out there. Like, wish we would have had people that gave us tips when we started years ago.
Right. Well, even there's a lot of times that you're not using your form. Let's say we pour, a stem wall for a house or something, and we're pouring. In fact, I think we have videos of us pouring to the top of a stem wall, and we're not screeding off our stem wall. We set a row of screed chairs, and our floor is flush with the stem wall. Right. We still set a row of screed chairs, a foot or 2 foot in from that stem wall, and we run our roller screed over the top of that. So it would be no different than you setting your pads and then screeding off that. And the reason we're pushing roller screeds, for one, I know a lot of comments were saying roller screeds can't get it flat, but roller screeds get it perfectly flat, and there's tons of laser screeds that use rollers on the front of their lasers, or front of their screed heads. So they're hitting their levels. We've poured for years and years and never had anything that we've had to tear out because it wasn't flat enough. There's tons of concrete guys, huge, way bigger than us, that pour schools, that pour hospitals, that pour, warehouses, Walmart, churches, things like that. And all that stuff's checked by engineers. And it was maybe 10 years ago when they picked up laser screeds because they said their guys are getting too old, that they, even to pull the roller screeds, their guys were getting too old to do that. So they picked up the laser screeds, and that's how they do their jobs now. But up until that point, and I think Bunyan is one of the bigger roller screed makers. They've been building roller screeds for over 40 years, So these guys have been using Bunyan roller screeds for over 40 since they were invented. They started using these, and they're hitting their levels. Their floors are perfectly flat. So as long as your pipes are straight, and there's ways to maintain your pipes, very easy. But as long as your pipes are straight, you get perfectly flat floors. And the amount of labor needed to pour with a roller screed is way less, and it's really, really fast. You can pour thicker mud. So we're just going to look at a few examples of how quick it is, what kind of labor you need to do it, and maybe different slumps you can pour. And I know we've had a lot of people saying, oh, your tops are tore up and your tops aren't going to last or whatever. And, you know, I've seen guys use vibrating floats behind these, which brings a little more cream to the top. If you do it right, maybe the first time over it, it's going to leave it a little rough, but you go over it a couple times and it gets it pretty good. And you float over the top of that, it's pretty smooth. I mean, at least you can tell it's perfectly flat. And as long as your mud's not super dry, it's really easy to float over the top. These guys are using, I don't know what brand, but they're using a gas powered, which I think is awesome. Absolutely awesome. But look, they have 2 rakers in there. I think they say they pour this out in 4 minutes. It's a driveway. They're screeding all the way across the whole driveway. And in reality, you could get away with just one. Like in this situation, we don't even use those rakes. We just use shovels. And on something like this, I would have 1 shoveler and 2 guys pulling the screed. And if that's using the truck pouring it. If you're using a pump, man, way easier. You really don't even need a shoveler. Your roller screed literally does all the work. It pulls the mud back. You just have to keep going back and forth. Look how quick he's floating behind us too, and that's what I like to do. As soon as that roller screed has made its passes, I start floating. I like to float right behind it because that's when it's the creamiest. But you can see if you're using a pump, which I think we have some video of that we've watched with guys using the pump, they have no shovelers. It's coming out of the pump and they're filling their holes as they're screeding. But you see how quick they screeded that?
Yeah.
Well, and a lot of comments are saying that they're asking, like, how many times does it take to go over the bowl float for you to get it smooth? Obviously, in this one, he's doing 1-2 passes, and
yeah, and I like to do just like he's doing. I like to go both ways. So I'll go the opposite. I'll float the opposite way that screeded, and then if you can float both ways. If you can't, one way coming from the side on this would be perfect. And honestly, you can literally hit it one time and it looks pretty good. You hit it a couple times and it's no different than if you poured with a vibrating screed.
this looks sloped even too.
Yeah, it is. Yeah,
everything's sloped.
it's sloped. And that's another comment. We've got a lot of comments about, well, we can't use laser screeds because we're pouring sloped concrete. Okay, you can use roller screeds on sloped concrete. I mean, we do it all the time. Look at this. This is extreme, and I think we've had some other videos, but you can see this is a roller screed that they're on winches, so the winch is actually pulling it up. But see how the roller is moving the mud? It's pulling the mud. They don't even have a shoveler. They have nobody. So obviously, if they have holes, they're going to have to go back down, and the pump's going to have to move over to fill those holes. But look how easy this is. So easy. I'm really impressed with this setup. This is awesome.
And when the mud falls over the backside of the roller screed, a lot of people are bringing that up too. But
you have to go over it again.
Yeah.
So if it's flying over the top of your roller screed, you're spinning too fast. You'll get that some when it builds up in the, obviously it's going to build up behind the roller screed. You can see that it does. And if it's flying over the top, you're just spinning too fast.
Yeah.
You want your roller screed to pull the mud.
When you can see he's not spinning it really fast.
No, he's spinning pretty slow.
Yeah.
That right there is a bunion. This is exactly what we use. This is a bunion system right here, which I absolutely love. It's hydraulic. It's got long hoses. You have a hydraulic unit, which, see how it's building up in the middle? And now it's pouring over the top.
Yeah.
So you got this guy out there raking, which you don't even need. He can continue to push up until there's no more mud. Go back down and pull it again. You really don't need that raker. So they're not there to pull the mud. They're there to fill holes. That's how we do it. We use the guys to fill holes, not to pull mud. let your roller screed pull the mud. They're very powerful.
Looks really good though.
Yeah, and look how far they're spanning. I mean, they're
Yeah.
spanning a long ways. I think they're saying they can span 30 feet, which you probably can with a 6-inch pipe. This is impressive to
Yeah.
me.
Well, looking at all their guys are standing up.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly. Everybody's off the ground. You literally could fill everything in with this guy. If they stay right with the pump guy, the guy running the hose, he can fill everything in as they're going.
yeah.
And you just keep going over it. And then I like to float right as soon as they're done going over the top. I like to start floating. See, in this situation, I would not have, I don't know why they have 3 guys out there. Just guys walking in the mud. That's, to me, is a waste. We're also, when we pour, we stay closer to the truck. I don't let them pour out that far. And we keep the truck continually pouring. Or the pump, whatever you're using, whether it's the truck or the pump. If it piles up in the middle, let the roller pull all that back.
Pull it all back. Keep pulling it back.
They could go all the way through to where there's
Yeah.
no concrete, and it'll pull the concrete all the way back, and then roll back up.
Yeah, roll back up.
Start
hit it
filling
again.
holes. You know, there's no reason you need this many guys out there pulling concrete. That's a waste of labor. In fact, in that, I would have 1 guy. That's it. This is a little blurry, so you can't tell how good the finish is, but there's techniques to doing this too. So after you roll over it, you can come back and you can have your roller spinning very lightly or not even spinning and just drag it slowly across the top, and it spreads that cream out a little bit more to where it fills in, you know, your rougher spots. This was our first roller screed right here. This is what we use, this spin screed. A little bit different handle, but same thing, just exactly like that. And see, they've set their forms to grade, and they're screeding off their form from form to form. And this is the reason to set your forms to grade, so you can screed off your forms.
Yeah.
You guys have no idea how it will save you. If you're doing this for 20 years bent over, you're not going to last. I don't care how Superman you are, you're not going to last. This is easy. Guys don't mind pouring concrete because this is easy. Everybody's up off the ground. You don't have a bunch of guys out there. You literally could pour this whole thing out with 4 guys. You could have 3 guys, 2 guys pulling your screed, 1 guy in the middle with a shovel, filling holes, and then your 4th guy's back there floating, starting to float with your bull float. It's exactly, I would have 4 guys out there, and that's it. Obviously, if you have rear enders or a pump, you're going to have another guy to run the pump. If it's not a very big pour, you could pour it all out as long as it's not too hot. You could pour it all out and then come back and start floating and finishing. So, but if it's hot out, you've got to be on that float right away.
So have you guys ever had issues or any situations that come up where your forms aren't set to grade or somebody has stepped on it and knocked it out of grade?
Well, we set our forms so they can't. You
can walk on them.
Yeah,
they're not gonna.
Some of our pipes, like we have some pipes that are huge and they're really heavy, and if there's any way that form could sink, that pipe's going to push it down. So your forms have to be solid. A lot of times, let's say we're pouring a 10-inch pad and we stack 2 4-inch metal forms. Okay, there's 2 inches underneath that form. Well, our forms are 2 inches wide, and so we can put gravel on the outside. And actually push gravel underneath that form. But
well, and we don't pour. The wettest we'll pour is a 4. You know, we don't pour really wet, so the mud's not.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It's quicker to finish, and it stays stronger because you're pouring it at a bigger slump.
Okay, I know you haven't seen this, Todd. This is impressive. We watched this the other day, and I'm like, how but they're using a roller screed. So I think this is Laura, the company Laura, which obviously, I mean, this company's roller screed system is super impressive. I really, really like it, but it is, you're going to spend a fortune for it. But look how steep this is, and they're able to do this with a roller screed. And their mud's got to be a 1-inch slump. I mean, it's dry. And you can see how this, how they're using this. I don't know how you would screed this without. This would be a bitch to screed by hand, but
Yeah, that's extreme.
Yeah.
That's really cool though.
yeah, it's pretty impressive. And they pour the whole
Yeah.
thing. I mean, obviously they're having to finish right behind because that's going to be hard as a rock. We pour our curb and gutter between a 1 and 1.5 slump, and you have about what you say in less than an hour before that.
Yeah, before you rooming it.
Yeah, that curb, that concrete's so hard that you can't even trowel it or nothing. So
Yeah.
this is going to be, these guys probably got about 30 minutes because it's thinner than curb. Maybe. I don't know how thick that is. This is impressive, though.
But yeah, it's really
that you can do this with a roller.
look how steep that is.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's incredible. And all they have is they have a pin down at the bottom that screed hooks to, and I've seen them do this with grain bin. They pour the bottoms for grain bins, which are sloped, not steep like this. This might be a grain bin. I don't know what it is, but they do the same thing. They use the pivot point at the bottom, and they just pull around just like this.
Mm-hmm.
Really cool, though. And you can see the ripples it leaves. It's a really long pipe for one, so I think you're gonna have a hard time getting a perfectly flat. I think pouring that far. So this is to the extreme.
What's the farthest with flat stuff that you guys will usually go with the roller?
I feel like a 6-inch pipe at 25 feet is probably. They say you can go more. That's the farthest we've ever gone, and I feel like it gets it pretty flat. So maybe you could go more. I don't know if you'd want to try to spin an 8-inch pipe. Maybe if somebody wants to try that, but
Yeah, it's looking good though.
yeah,
I mean, he's spraying the water because I'm sure it is so thick.
right.
Get it to cream up, but it's looking really good.
It's just incredible that they could do
Mhm.
something like this. I don't know how else you would do it. I really don't.
Here's another clip.
Okay, let's talk about this. So this, I don't know how old these type of machines are. They've been around a long time. This is how they pour roads. So, and obviously, the Gameco has the huge road machines that pour, slip form the roads. But what they've got here is an auger, which is it's a roller pipe. So you can see how it's funneling the mud to the middle. But the roller is what's pulling the mud, and then they have some sort of vibrating system on the back. This right here looks just like some of the big laser screed heads right here. They'll have the same auger roller in the front that pulls the mud, and that's what's getting it pretty flat. I mean, it's going to get it pretty much perfectly flat, and then you got your vibrating system on the back. I don't know what's some sort of board that's going to get it really smooth. But this is what roller screeds are based on. I think is where they came from, is from these kind of machines that were pouring roads. And I've seen newer ones. I've seen some really old ones too, where they have 3 rollers and 2 of the rollers drive the machine, but they're riding on forms just like this.
Yeah, it's impressive. It looks really good.
So this is the idea behind it. And obviously to set something like this up, unless you're pouring huge, long, I don't think the investment would pay unless this is what you do for a living, is pour roads.
Yeah.
But you can go and watch tons. They're like Bunyan. Bunyan sells their screeds to these guys, to guys that use the big Gameco machines, and they slip form roads, and then Bunyan sells their machines for fill-in. They come in, they do these fill-in spots with Bunyan's roller screeds. So they sell them all over the world. So this is not a new concept. This thing's been around. Like I said, Bunyan's been selling them for over 40 years, and these other machines have been around way before that. So this is not a new concept. They've been using it for many years. It's just, I don't know. For some reason, nobody is using it or wants to. I don't understand the reason behind it. But
I think another comment we always get too is they're talking about doing basements when there's vapor barriers and ways around that. I mean, what have you guys usually done?
Okay, well, we don't use a lot of vapor barriers. Some commercial jobs require it. Some are really strict about puncturing the vapor barrier. Some are not. So a lot of the jobs we've been on that require vapor barrier, if you pounded a rebar down through it, not a big deal. So, like in this situation, you can see maybe their joints are taped. I'm not sure, but they have a row of screed chairs that I don't think you can see them until they pull the pipe. Yeah, see, they pulled the pipe. They're sitting on their row of screed chairs, and I don't know if it looks like they're pounded down. The rebars are pounded down through the vapor barrier. So, I've heard some comments about, well, we can't puncture the vapor barrier. Obviously you can, because there's pipes and other structures that come up to the vapor barrier. So vapor barriers can be punctured, and you can use, whether it's a sealing tape or a mastic to seal that. But to set these pipes, the reason they're able to screed like this with that roller screed is because they have that right there, temporary rail, which sits on screed chairs.
Yeah.
And that has rebars that are pulled down. So, okay, look at this. This is cool. They've got on the edge, they've got that end cap that allows you to get right up next to the edge. We've never had that, but that's pretty cool. See how they're going around the pipes? This is exactly how we do it. You just kind of go at angles, and then you'll pull up over the top of the pipe. And you know what? You're going to have to get out there and finish a little bit in those areas that you couldn't get your roller screed.
So for areas that are pretty strict on the vapor barrier, what are some solutions?
Okay, well, see how he's walking out there?
Yeah. It's exactly what we do right here.
You walk on that. You can walk out there on that and finish around your pipes, finish around your edges. I really like that.
Yeah, I like that idea right there. Yeah, that's a great idea.
That is cool. So as far as vapor barrier, there's a lot of times the engineers say, well, we don't want anything that can come up through the floor and rust. And so using a metal rebar punctured down through your vapor barrier, they don't like. And so, I don't know how many people have seen this. They do have coated rebar, but there is a fiberglass rebar that's actually claims to be stronger than your steel rebar. So your fiberglass rebar, you cut the lengths, you pound it down in, you set your screed chairs on top, just exactly how you would do metal. And then after you go down through the vapor barrier, you can take a mastic. So you just pound it right through your vapor barrier and take a mastic, and you just go around it with mastic. It seals it perfectly. Yeah. And then you can use your roller screeds on areas where you're doing vapor barrier. Very simple. And we also make a plate, and I know there's other people that make plates that actually sit on top of your vapor barrier, and you can set your screed chairs on that, and they work awesome. They're incredible. And then you're not puncturing your vapor barrier, especially in those places that don't allow it. They're really strict about it. I don't think they can stop you from puncturing it as long as you seal it. I think that's their main thing is they want to make sure it's sealed. And I'm not sure it's so much for moisture as it is for possibly areas that have lots of radon coming up through the floors. Now this is cool here. So curb roller, we have one of these. Not the machine, but the actual, we use this curb roller. Same concept, but it shapes our curb. Right there. Right. That's exactly what we have.
Yeah.
And you can get it for valley gutters, all different shapes. But this curb roller company is pretty cool, pretty impressive. So what we do is exactly like they would form there's a valley right there. What you'd form your outside edges, and then it's the same principle like a roller screed, and um, it shapes your curb, shapes your valley gutters, saves a ton of time. That's such a good idea. So I really like the curb roller concept.
I think the other thing too that people have been commenting on is they think that, and maybe it's just because we haven't put enough video out as of yet, but we don't solely rely upon roller screeds. We really like them. They're very versatile, but it's just a tool that you use in specific situations. Obviously, there's situations that arise where you wouldn't use it or can't use it, but the main goal that we've been trying to get across to people is to try to save your labor's backs. A lot of comments say, well, just get a really good screeder or a really good finisher, which if you have one of those, why not try to save that guy's back as much as possible?
Well, it's like anything. Once they become really good, they can usually make more money somewhere else, or they can go on their own, or they can just get tired of doing it. So you can't always just, you want the best guys as possible with the most experience, but people quit. People move on to something else. So you need to take some of that out of there, so you don't have to have the very best guy doing the screeding or the very best. I mean,
we have trained tons of people that have gone on their own, which I'm absolutely proud of.
It's
what it is.
It's a compliment. You get guys for 5 years and they go on their own because they learn how to do it all and say, I can make more money. And how can you dismiss somebody for getting better in life? And I'm with Bill. I'm very proud of them to go on. I think everybody should own their own business at least one point in their life, so they can really experience what it's really like, instead of the boss does this and this and this. No, you go be the boss. See how it really is. You get it's a great experience for anybody.
Well, and I feel like that's kind of a big thing with us talking about concrete. We're not professing to be experts. We're concrete fans, always trying to learn. And when we first started making these videos, at least for me, I didn't expect the reach that we would get and the feedback we would get, which is really cool. I feel like not a lot of people have talked about concrete without arguing over which way is better, which we're not saying that our way is the best way to do it. What we're trying to figure out is the easiest way for people to screed concrete by using machines. I mean, we use machines in all the other aspects of pouring concrete. You don't mix by hand anymore. You use trucks and pumps to lay your concrete. You finish it with power trowels. But how come screeding is the one part that is getting left behind?
Well, it's maybe back when we started, screeding to us sucked because we hand screeded. I mean, we would screed form to form. Pretty much, that's how we set up. I remember we bought us a 14-foot magnesium board, and that's what we set up our forms. We would pour 14 feet wide. We'd pour that, strip it the next day, or less than 14 foot wide. We'd strip it the next day or whatever. We'd pour the next section. We hated concrete. All of us hated concrete. And it wasn't until, and then we got out of it. We started subbing that out, saying concrete sucks. It's the worst part of the job. So we started subbing that stuff out, and we kind of got forced back into it, So, but we watched the guys that we subbed to that would pour, and we kind of started taking their techniques. And
that's been our biggest goal, is to try to keep people. I suffer from back spasms because you're already bent over a lot just in concrete in general. So the more that we can keep ourselves off the ground, the better, for just long term. And that's why and that's kind of why we've gone to this more technology, more newer stuff, or always looking for something better. It's just to make things easier on ourselves.
Our older brother's got a bad back. He's the same thing. He's been in this since we started, and he's got a bad back. It takes me a while in the morning to loosen up my back. So, it's just that's the nature of the beast. If you're going to do this for this long, I just couldn't even imagine being bent over for 20 years or 30 years hand screeding. You know, it's just, to me, we would be in way worse shape. And we
Yeah.
know guys that are in way worse shape than us. They're literally crippled.
Yeah.
So,
Well, and the thing is too is like pretty much every pour that you're gonna pour is probably gonna have some sort of hand scraping. But
yeah.
we always have our best guy do the tricky stuff, and then have our other guys do kind of the more straight, flat,
right.
easier stuff.
Right. And you know, mostly, honestly, screeding is not, to me, was never been even an issue as far as worrying about, is that going to be flat? Is that going to be screeded right? Did I shoot my levels right? I mean, I do worry about the levels of our forms, or the levels of our screed chairs, or in the rails. You know, I worry about those, but I can check all that before the truck gets there, and I can make sure everything's right before we start pouring. And then I don't have to worry about it after that, because I know that it's set right and it's strong, and the guys can walk on it. They can walk on our forms. They can walk on our screed rails. They're not sinking. You know, that's the way we set them up.
Yeah.
Well, what I see, this is probably one of my favorite guys. So anything that we pour that's under 12 feet, probably, we use a vibrating screed. So I would never use a roller screed on sidewalks. Even, you know, small walkways or driveways, 10 feet or less, we use a vibrating screed. It's just so much faster. It gets it perfectly smooth. But we also pour, like when we do sidewalks, we're pouring hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of feet at a time, and it takes too long with a roller screed. These vibrating screeds are awesome. But so I've seen some of this, I don't remember his name, but I've seen some of this guy's videos, and they do a great job, and he prides himself on doing a great job. So the only thing we do different than him, besides we don't do what they're doing here, but you can see he's got his guys off the ground when they're using that vibrating screed. Look at this. This is impressive. This screed on a stick. I really like that idea. You know, now he can hit these tight areas without being bent over.
Yeah.
Well, he's probably had some of the same issues. I mean, if you watch his videos, he's got the same guys with him for years.
Yeah.
And he's probably saying, yeah, I got to get him off the ground.
They look experienced.
Right.
They just found ways easier to stay off the ground, and it looks good.
Yeah, this is awesome.
Yeah.
What he's showing here is just incredible. I love that idea. Everybody that screeds, no matter how you do it, should have one of those. I don't even know what that's called, but that is awesome. But you can see this vibrating screed. So the only thing we do different than him is he uses or he sets his wet pads, and then they just screed off the already poured concrete. We don't do that, and the only reason I say we don't do that is because you've got to be really, really skilled with this vibrating screed.
Yeah.
To keep it from moving up and down, because if you let that sit, that thing's going to vibrate right down into your mud.
Yeah, you got to be good at it.
So, and I'm not the guy that goes out and screeds. I don't. Todd doesn't go out and screed, not very often. Sometimes he'll pull the roller screed, but we're finishers. We do the finishing. I'm in the back, and I'm bull floating this thing.
Yeah.
So whatever that girl's doing, that's me. I'm the girl. So we have other guys that do the screeding, and I couldn't even think of one guy one guy that we have that would be able to do this, and I could say that's flat floor. You know?
Right.
I would worry about it. So I would be screeding off rails. I would set the rails, and then I would never even think that it's not going to be flat, because the lowest they can go is the top of that rail, you know? So you can see some of we don't have a lot of sidewalk video. We didn't ever think of video in any of the stuff we used to do, but the sidewalk videos, we would use a screed just like he had. I wouldn't use the board that he had, the magnesium board. We would use a 2x, and we'd screw that on the middle, and then we'd screw handles on the outside. So our guys weren't even in the concrete when we did sidewalks.
Yeah.
And that's kind of our thought too, is get out of the concrete as much as possible. You know, don't be in the mud.
So what are different situations that you would use a roller screed as opposed to a vibrating screed?
I would use a roller screed on this, no problem.
Yeah.
You just set up your. In fact, I don't know how wide this is, but I think you could roller screed this with a set of screed chairs down the middle. I mean, you'd have to look at it and see which way would be the best way to pour as far as being able to roller screed it. And you could literally roller screed around those pipes and then use that cutter that he's got there and use that to screed right around your pipes. He looks like he's doing awesome with it. So this is what I don't like. I don't like this idea of your guys being bent over for years hand screeding. This is so hard on your body. It's fine for one day. It's fine for a week, you know. You're going to be tired, but you can't do this for 20 years and expect not to have back problems. It's just our bodies aren't meant to do this.
And I think in this video specifically, he's showing the difference between wet screeding or hand screeding versus the vibrating one.
Yeah, and I've seen his videos where he talks about that he really likes the vibrating screed. That's his favorite way, and I know that he's got issues where they have to have a vapor barrier and foam on all of their projects. So, you know, you run into issues like that, and I can see, I don't know if they would allow them to pound rebars down through there. I don't think they can stop you as long as they're sealed. And if they don't like the metal rebars, we'll use the fiberglass. There's nothing they can say that completely meets code. No engineer's going to go against that. They'll never rust. This is pretty cool, though. This is what I think everybody if you're not going to screed off rails and use roller screeds, and you want to, this I think is a perfect alternative to hand screeding, to whatever where you're hand screeding off your wet pads. I think this is awesome. Everybody's off the ground. Your whole crew's off the ground. Nobody's bent over.
Yeah.
Saves you, man. Look how fast it is. Look how good it makes it. She's bull floating right behind. This is great. So just, and I don't know if he does it, but we've seen some videos where this vibrating screed moves up and down. And where we've used a vibrating screed for so many years, we know that it vibrates harder in the middle than it does on the outsides. And so if that mud's up very high, it vibrates underneath and it leaves you a hump. And so going over it one time I think is difficult to guarantee that it's going to be perfectly flat. So that's my worry with the vibrating screed, is not using rails and screeding off your forms. So
The thing too, going back to like why we're doing all this, is just to discuss concrete with people. I mean, we've learned a lot just in the past couple of days of seeing how other people pour concrete, and the comment sections of videos we've done where people are explaining things to us. Obviously, we don't see it all. We haven't poured any and everything that you could ever pour with concrete. And we didn't mean to start a war with the Australians. We think that you guys have great work ethics. It's
like freaking debating flat earth with
yeah, which is funny because we're just talking about getting things flat. But they're
angry.
We didn't mean to make anyone mad. We're not calling out anybody's method. We're just trying to talk about how we can use machines to make concrete easier. We don't think concrete needs to be as hard as what it's been for years and years and years and years. And it's really cool to see how much pride that Australians specifically have in their work. You don't see that much nowadays, where people take pride in their work. But we just like discussing different ways on how to pour concrete, how to make it faster and make it less laborious on all the concrete guys.
What's funny, there's a guy in Oregon that I've been talking to that we're actually going to go down. We'll get some footage when we go down there, but they do the same thing. They hand screed. They set their wet pads just exactly like the Australians are doing. And he says that's how everybody's doing it where they're from. He's never seen roller screeds in action. He's actually never heard of the roller screeds until I started talking to him about it. He's seen vibrating screeds, but they don't use them. They hand screed everything. And we're going to actually go down there and show them how these things work and demo them, and we'll get footage.
Well, and that's why we got to do the videos, so the old dinosaurs can learn that there's something new out there.
Yeah.
We're not stuck in way back time, you know. And if you don't want to do it, fine. not going to affect me at all.
Yeah.
You know, we're just trying to show you what's out there, and we're seeing things too that we can pick up from other people all the time.
Yeah, well, we have in the last 4 days since we had several videos on Instagram completely blow up. 300,000 views, 200,000, 100,000. There's been a lot of eyeballs that have seen some of this newer stuff. Yeah, we got a lot of crap from people just because there's things that we just didn't notice when we were reacting to videos. And like I said, our goal was not to make anybody mad, more so just to discuss and talk about different ways to pour concrete because, yeah, there's lots of ways out there. There's probably tons of ways that we don't even know about. We've just found what has been the easiest for us and trying to share it with people. But we've had hundreds of people reach out they've sent us direct messages via the comment section saying, hey, we live in this area. Is there any way that you guys could ever come out here and show us your techniques of what you're doing? We've also had people send us videos of their work, which is really impressive. Been lots of Australians that have reached out. They've sent us videos, showed us pictures. They've explained things a little bit better to us so that we can understand why they do certain things that they do. And that's really what this whole thing is about, is just everybody bouncing and sharing ideas off of each other. I don't think we need to make this a war. That's not what our intentions were either. We just like to discuss concrete.
Well, I think one of the biggest things we're really good friends with tons of the concrete guys all over, like not just in our town, but we've worked in all these other towns, and we know the guys. We've worked with them. We've worked behind them. So we know them, and the biggest complaint people have is back issues. So we just know, like when we were running curb machine, we would do thousands of feet of curb, and you've got guys bent over finishing curb, cutting joints.
Yep.
And same thing, you're bent over. You cannot be bent over all day, every day, and expect your back to last. And this is the issue that people are having. You're already bent over enough without having to be bent over to screed. So our issue is we've never had a thought about screeding. We've always screeded since we've had roller screeds or vibrating screeds. We're always off the ground. Very, very rarely are we down. Sometimes, you have to be down there, but very rarely. Most of the time, you're up off the ground. Your guys are off the ground. A lot of our tools are on poles, Sometimes you got to get down when you're edging against existing concrete. You have to get down there and get a nice edge with a hand edger. But when we're edging against forms, we're using edgers on poles. We're using tools on poles, so we're trying to keep guys off the ground as much as possible to save their backs. And I can't even imagine what our backs would be like if we were bent over having to screed. Screeding, to me, I've never even had a thought about.
No, I got to go the easiest way to help the employees, the best that they possibly can, or you won't keep them.
Right.
You can't keep them. They're going to get hurt.
Yeah.
They're going home every day sore than piss.
Yeah.
Saying, shit, man, my back is gone. I'm tired. How many days have we been done? Not even hand screeding, and we get done and we're like, I'm tired. Yeah. I'm exhausted. Even running a power trowel. Dude, you muscle those 4-foot power trowels around. That's a lot of work.
Yeah.
So if your best guy has to hand screed the whole pad and then he has to finish the power trowel, that's a lot of work for one guy. You're wearing that guy out fast. He's not going to last. Except for the one Australian dude that's Superman. That guy is incredible. He'll get down there and screed, and he'll finish and video.
Yeah.
He's
part of the 1%. The rest of us are the other 99%.
Yeah.
And that's who we're talking to, is the other 99. You got the 1% that they are Superman. They'll do it all, and they'll prove you wrong every single time.
Yeah. And he has.
You know what? I tip my hat to you, man.
Yeah.
The rest of us are the 99% that are like, oh, yeah, what's an easier way to do this?
Right.
And that's kind of what we're going for is talking to those people. You're going to have your 1% that, yeah, they are Superman, man.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's another reason maybe people came off a little aggressive is one of the videos we reacted to. His name's Concrete Ninja, and he's one of the biggest. I don't know if he's one of the biggest companies in Australia, but he is the biggest social media presence that I've found anyway. But he does great work. When we were watching his videos, one of the videos we reacted to, it was a new guy learning how to screed. So I guess that one's on us. It says in the title that he is a new guy learning.
Okay, well, little background. Todd and I don't watch videos ever.
Yeah.
We're never on YouTube or social media. We don't watch videos. Never cared to. And so our reaction to guys that have been doing this for a long time, we're just calling it like we see it. And so if we come across as insulting, that wasn't our intention. But another thing is we really don't give a shit either.
Yeah, I don't really care. It doesn't affect us one.
No.
You can say whatever you want. It ain't going to affect me or
Yeah.
Bill. We don't give two shits. All we're doing is looking at stuff and trying to figure out, like, why the hell are they doing it that way? You know, but what I've realized is the concrete's still in dinosaur generation, man. We're still, nobody's really, they need to get up to speed and see what else is out there. Not everybody, but a lot of them still are. And this is probably why it's kept a lot of guys from going into the concrete business. They had to start there or start as a little screeder hand. They're not going to last. New guys they're not going to last that long. You know, they're going to find something else to do. But if you have some of the new technology and the new things that are out there, hey, you don't know where they can take it. You know, what other, you know, usually these ideas come from another concrete guy that's been doing this, and they just throw out their idea, and that becomes the new idea. And everybody's always trying just to make it a little bit easier so you can be a little bit more competitive. Everybody can make a little bit more money. You know, and that's kind of that's why we look into all this stuff.
Well, we've all got younger guys, too, that bring us videos. Hey, check this out. Look at this tool. Look at this. Check this out. And we're willing to look at everything and say, yeah, that looks like it would be easier. And if it's a good investment, we'll do it. If it's not, then we'll pass. But
we're
that doesn't
willing
mean
to try.
That doesn't mean they won't do it when they go on their own.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
You know, they may say, when I go on my own, I'm buying that tool, and I'm gonna, like the vibrating float. I thought was an excellent idea. I just didn't think we needed it. You know, and I wouldn't be surprised if some of the guys that work for us, they may have one.
Yeah.
You know, I'd like to go see. I'd like to see it work. It looks good, but to me, we just never thought it was worth the investment. Or the power trowel on a pole. I like that idea too. Never invested in that, you know, which I think some guys would.
Right.
It's a great idea. So get out there without walking out.
Well,
on your
that's
concrete.
all it is, just information. Do whatever you want with the information, you know. If it works for you, great. If it doesn't, great, you know. It doesn't really affect anybody. It's mainly about yourself. You
Right.
know, what information, what works for your guys' business.
But it's also, if you're the boss, you got to start looking at your employees. You know, we can look back now after, you know, we've been doing this for so long. We can look back and say, I wish we would have done it this way. If you're the young boss, you know, you say you're in your 20s or early 30s, you still got a long time. You got to start looking at these younger employees. Am I wrecking these guys' body for my benefit? Can I make it easier?
Right.
You know, I there's a lot of times like doing the curb machine. When we first started, we poured a ton. We poured thousands of feet, and it was body destroying work for these guys to follow this machine that long. It's fine. So we cut it back. What we would do is we'd spend a day setting up our string lines, and we'd spend the next day pouring. And then we said, okay, let's spend half a day pouring and half a day setting string line.
Yep.
You know, so guys weren't bent over. We still got the same amount of work done. Guys just weren't bent over as long. And then we started finding other ways. How can we do it faster? How can we get guys off the ground more and more? You start finding trowels and tools that you can use to try to get more guys standing up, and maybe find ways to use less labor.
Yeah.
You know, so that should be on a boss's mind all the time. How do I save my guys? How do I keep my guys from getting hurt or, you know, from wrecking their bodies?
Well, burning them out. You're going to burn them out.
Exactly, burn them out. So, and I'm sure everybody faces that, but if you're not willing to do anything about it, does that really make you a good boss, you know? So that's what we're looking at is we just know too many guys whose bodies are shot from concrete. I can't think of really any other job. I'm sure there's tons of jobs that wreck your bodies, but concrete work cripples your bodies over 20, 30 years. It just does. It doesn't matter how you do it. Maybe if you have a laser screed and you laser screed and then you jump on your riding power trowel, you go home just like that was a pretty easy day,
Yeah.
And you're pouring 10 times the amount of concrete we pour. So obviously that's golden,
Yeah.
but we can't all do it that way.
Yeah.
Well, that's the issue too. There's a lot of people that have commented too, and they said, why not just use a laser screed? They're expensive, and it's not feasible for lots of people that are into concrete.
Okay, but I've seen a lot of guys. Now that we started watching videos, I've seen guys pour some humongous pads day in and day out, and they screed it by hand. In fact, this guy I'm talking to in Oregon does the same. They pour big stuff, and they screed it by hand, and I'm like, you need to invest in a laser screed. Why are you letting your guys be bent over screeding huge pads like this? This is craziness. Those guys should be investing in laser screeds. So, you can get used ones for not that much. So new ones are expensive. But if you're pouring a lot of big stuff, man, that to me would be the way to go.
The way to go, for sure.
But I think the next best thing behind a laser screed is a roller screed. So, and these guys that have laser screeds, they started with roller screeds, and they poured huge stuff with roller screeds, and it met the flatness. I mean, the engineers passed it all off. You can get your floors really flat with roller screeds. So, whoever's saying you can't, and whoever's saying these are junk, and whoever says you've never used them, we've been using them for many years. There's guys that have been using them for 20 years longer than us, maybe longer than that. And they're the big guys. They're the guys that have the laser screeds now. They're the guys that are pouring the massive jobs. And they swear by the roller screeds. So we know what's possible with them. And sloped concrete, you can pour sloped concrete. It's pretty versatile. There's a lot you can do with the roller screeds. Obviously, you can do the same hand screeding, but your roller screed gets guys off the ground, and it's fast. Especially when you start getting really wide pipes, 25-foot wide pipes. You're pouring a lot of concrete really fast.
I can't believe you got a 300,000 looked at one video.
I'll tell you the number right now.
That's craziness.
Dude, what happens is if you start getting into the millions, every video you post is going to hit millions. You know what I mean? You'll have all those people still looking at,
And maybe one of these days for a video, we can go through and just read people's comments.
Yeah.
Well, when we were looking at statistics, too, of how many jobs need to be replaced every year, and it's declining as far as people getting into trades.
Yeah. We're so far in the hole. Like, I don't remember the numbers, but the study came out, and I think just in the U.S. we're over 500,000 short of not even the number that they need to hire for the year. We're like 500,000 short of the usual hires per year. So, I mean, and everybody sees it.
Yeah, one of the problems is hard work, I mean, kind of got a generation that is growing up on YouTube and Facebook and all, and they make money doing videos or something, and they all want to be YouTube stars. When the reality, we grew up where it's like, shit, you want to make $1? Get your ass out there and start freaking shoveling, man.
Yeah.
We'll find you something to do. You're going to have the opportunity to and I think people look at that saying, well, I can do that. I can do this, or I can make, well, maybe one, a few handful, but what's the long term too of something like that? So I think a lot of that, and then it's hard work. I mean, guys used to grow up, I mean, not to cut on the younger generation, they're kind of soft. When I was younger, I wanted to prove how hard I could swing that hammer, prove how much I could shovel, if someone challenged you, you can't move that much dirt. Oh, watch me. You kind of had this pride. And I think there's not a lot of pride in that anymore, where that's what we used to, I think you're a little bit more prideful in everything that you did. And now the younger people, and I'm not cutting on them, but they're just a little softer, you know. They just don't have that drive or whatever it was, you know. It's you know, but then at the same time, we wanted to make a buck. You went out and hustled to make $1. You had to go clean up a scrapyard. You went and cleaned up that scrapyard, you know, got paid for whatever they paid you for that day or whatever you had to do to make a buck, you know.
Yeah, our wages were, what was them,
$4 an hour or something.
Yeah, $4
you know?
an hour is what they would pay us when we were younger.
So if I remember getting paid $5 an hour, and that was great money.
Yeah, awesome.
It's like, hell yes. And then I went to a sugar factory. They paid me $8. I think McDonald's was paying $4.25, and the sugar factory paid me $8.60. I mean, any 18-year-old kid'd be like, I could throw sugar bags, 50-pound bags every day. That's what I did. You know, but there's a little bit more pride. I mean,
yeah,
I guess you just never steered away from. I mean, that's how you made your money. You just did whatever you got to do to make a buck. And I don't know, it's just a different thought process today. And that's probably why they're getting it through all the trades. You know, is people last for a couple weeks and like, yeah, let me try something different. See if there's something a little easier to do. Or, you know, to me, it's just a little soft, you know.
it's not getting better either. So if you guys think you got a whole group of young people coming up that are going to jump into this, they're not.
No.
It's getting worse and worse, and the numbers are showing it. So you can look them up. The numbers are showing the heavy decline, not just a small decline. This is a heavy decline. What you're going to have is engineers are going to be forced to find new ways to do things because the labor force isn't out there to continue doing it the way we're doing it. We're declining. So pretty soon we will be the dinosaurs.
Yeah.
You know, and that's going to be forced because nobody's getting into this business. The engineers are going to be forced to find new ways. I guarantee they're looking. They know. They see the numbers. They know what's coming. Listen, you guys can contact us. We're willing to talk. We're willing to answer questions. We're going to go to Oregon and help a company learn how to use roller screeds and vibrating screeds and
Screed chairs.
Screed chairs. We're going to go down to California. There's a couple companies down there we're going to work with. So I'm not saying we want to come and work with everybody, but we're just saying we're going to video this. We're going to try to get more info, more how to and results. We want to show results, you know, how you can change your business, save employees, maybe do more work with less labor. And if you think that can't be done, just go ahead and look at the big guys with the laser screeds. They're doing it with way less labor than you're doing it, and way faster, and they're pouring just an ungodly amount of concrete. So it's out there. I think that if you're the boss, you need to be doing a little more research to see how can I help my employees. How can I save it, make it a little bit easier on them to get this work done? And just be mindful of that. I think that's our main goal is we just know what it does over time.
And thanks for the comments. Say whatever comments on your mind. Just don't give us the BS ones. I like the honesty ones. So say it how it is.
Yeah.
You know, that's exactly how I take everything. I got way more respect for people that are honest, say it how it is, than people that just beat around the bush.
Yeah,
You know,
absolutely.
we're straightforward dudes, and that's how we are. So now I don't get offended at anything. You can call me bitch tit motherfucker. Ain't gonna offend me.
Right.
I'm gonna sleep just fine tonight.
But we try to answer. I mean, it's all three of us. We're trying to answer as many questions and comments as possible, even the ones that call us names that we're stupid and we're idiots. We try to find out why you think that way. You know, if you're just throwing comments out because you're a troll, fine. Say I'm a troll, and that's fine with us. But if you really think that we're idiots, let's debate this. You know, we're not afraid to back up what we're saying because we feel like we've been in the industry a long time, and we're not saying we're the best, you know, but there is a lot of knowledge here, a lot of experience here, and we come from a long line of construction guys, you know, so it's in our blood. And when we see stuff that we think that just seems like that's wrong or that's too much work or that, that kind of triggers us because we've been there. Our grandpa was a dinosaur, and we worked under him, and everything he did was old school. I had to go out and learn new ways because we hated it. That's the way it was. So if you're the dinosaur, I guarantee those guys working for you, they're watching, and those are the guys that are going to take you over. Yeah. They're going to say, I'm going on my own. I'm going to do it this way, and I'm going to take all your jobs. I'm going to take all your work because I'm going to be able to do it faster. Everybody's going to want to work for me because it's easier. Don't be the dinosaur. You guys got to pay attention, be up on stuff. And if you think, you know what, I'm almost done, continue on. But the next generation isn't going to.
Yeah.
They just won't. And that could be your son. That could be your, if it is your son, and he's the one watching this, get up there and kick that dinosaur in the ass and say, we gotta get up on technology. This is craziness.
Well, like they were saying, we read the comments, so leave more comments, ask us questions, share stuff with us. We've had people share videos, pictures, just different ways and techniques. That's really what this is how can we discuss the concrete industry without making it a war, but also keep moving it forward, because that's the only way you're going to move forward is to keep discussing, sharing ideas, and learning from each other. So. And
it's fun when you guys send us videos of what you're doing. Somebody sent us some videos of, we asked them why, because they use a laser screed on their inside concrete, but they hand screed everything on the outside. And he showed us some videos why, and I could see there was a lot of slopes and drains, but there's a lot of ways that you can use machines to screed that, where you're not screeding, huge pads. Even with slopes, you can still screed that with machines. So there's lots of ways to do it. But we really appreciate all of the feedback, the videos, we've had voicemails. So feel free to contact us, let us know. Tell us to piss off. We're fine with it. So
yeah.
And the last two things that I wanted to bring up, because we've had an influx of inquiries from Australians and people from New Zealand specifically. There's a big concrete community in Australia, which is really cool. We've learned that. But we've had a lot of people ask if we ship globally, and that's something that we're working on right now, because it's very expensive to ship things to Australia. So along with that, just trying to ship there. The other big thing is lots of people have asked what brand of roller screed to get, where they can get them. There's many different brands, but we're actually in the process of making our own, which is going to be way more affordable. It'll probably be the cheapest way for you to get in. And we're even going to make a video showing you how you can build your own. So even if you don't want to use ours, we're going to show a video of how you can build it yourself. So hopefully that'll be out within the next couple weeks.
Well, especially if you don't like using the roller screed, because some of these are really expensive. Like you get into the bunion screeds, they're spendy. They're worth it. They're spendy. The curb roller is worth it. They're spendy. And Lura screeds, I really like their concept, but I think before I would buy that, I would buy a laser screed. The cost is just outrageous. So, and I know a lot of people do it, and it's probably a good investment, but we're focused on is entry level. And so if we can do the cheapest, you can do it for dirt cheap, entry level, learn how to use it. If you like it, you can always upgrade to these guys that are building these, really nice ones. My favorite's the bunion. It's the hydraulic, and the curb roller. The curb roller, theirs is awesome. So it's hydraulic also. I like the hydraulic just because they're so powerful. The electric ones aren't as strong. The little gas motors aren't as strong. So you literally could roll pretty much any slump with pretty much any size pipe you want with the hydraulic screeds. They're just so powerful. And they're really versatile. So if I was to recommend one, if you pour a lot of concrete, I would recommend the bunion or the curb roller. There's other hydraulic ones that I've never used, but these ones I have used, and they're good. They're great. You can hook them to, like we would hook ours to our skid steer. So we didn't even have the hydraulic unit. We have a hydraulic unit now, but when we first well, for many, many years, we would just hook it to our skid steer. It
Yeah.
worked awesome. Skid steer was always on site, so we had no problem hooking to the skid steer.
Yeah.
So they're very versatile. And they don't take, there's a lot of comments. People are saying, oh, it takes so long to set those up. These aren't the big, huge rollers like we showed you. They're doing roads. These aren't those. These are little, portable, very quick to set up. Throw them in the back of a truck. You know, put your pipes on a trailer. Very, very easy to use. Very quick to set up. So you guys need to take a second look at these roller screeds. And then not only just roller screeds, there's lots of uses for the screed chairs with screed rails, especially, you know, you're doing contoured pours. You're talking about pouring into drains, pouring valleys, pouring ridges. You can set these screed rails. We'll do more videos on this too. You can set these screed rails and screed off them. Even if you're hand screeding, it sets your perfect grade, so you're not having to shoot it with a laser while you're pouring. Set your grade up, and then you pull them out. You know, fill it in. So it's really simple. It takes all the guesswork out. So that's one thing that we really like about the screed chairs with the rails is there's no more guesswork. You set your grades before you pour, and then anybody can screed that. So you're not having to have your very best guy down there figuring out these complex contours and flows, and it can be done really easy. Look into it. At least look into it.